Number 2.5 years and 225 matches later, we have come down to the final game in the Asian zone of the World Cup qualifiers. This the second leg of the playoffs to decide Asia's 5th best team in these qualifiers and to represent the region in a playoff against the 4th best side in Central America and the Caribbean. Welcome to the ANZ Stadium Australia in Sydney. The tie finally poised at 1-1 after the first leg, as the Socceroos take an enviable home record into this match. They've never lost a playoff game at home in World Cup qualifiers in the same stadium that brought them the Asian Cup just 2 years ago, against a Syria side that did not even appear in those Asian Cups after being banned for fielding an ineligible player at the last World Cup qualifiers. Australia versus Syria, leg number 2 of the Asian playoffs.
Please stand for the national anthem of Syria. Please remain upstanding for the national anthem of Australia.
The difference in atmosphere in the two ties from 5 days ago couldn't have been more stark, as the Australians hope to take the partisan feeling from the crowd to cascade it onto the pitch and make a fast start against a Syrian side who will look to try to defend and hit Australians on the break as much as possible. As I said, it's a stadium that has struck beautiful chords with the Australian football fans through the years. As we have a look at the Australian lineup, 4 changes to the squad that played in the first leg, and one of them being Tim Cahill winning his 103rd cap. There's no spots for Aaron Moy. There's also a change in the wing-backs, as more adventurous wing-backs are needed for this game. Brad Smith and Matthew Leckie will be roaming down the flanks ahead of Aziz Beige and Josh Risdon. Elsewhere, James Troisi is preferred to Tom Urich up front, and Thomas Rogic also returns to the starting 11. Look at the substitutes, which includes the number 13, Aaron Moy. Will he be needed to come on and put in those sumptuous deliveries for the forward line, especially with someone as powerful in the air as that man over there, Tim Cahill, Australia's all-time top scorer. One of the most experienced referees in the game of Asian football, Ravshan Ermatov. He's overseeing his 60th World Cup qualifying game. The last time he refereed in the stadium in a World Cup qualifier, Australia drew 2-2 with Oman. That was back in 2013. 2-2 would be good enough for Syria to get through, and they know they need to score here, and their chances hampered by the fact that Omar Karbin, the top scorer in these qualifiers, is missing through suspension. His place goes to Madik Madkian. 3 other changes include Jehad Al-Baur returning in defense ahead of Hadi Al-Masri, who's also suspended. Uday Abdul Jafar, the number 11, taking the place of Khalid Amboed, who's also suspended, and Hamid Mido preferred over Yusuf Kalfa. The fact that Hadi Al-Masri is suspended means that Syria, down to its bare bones in terms of squad selection, are out and without their 2 first-choice centre-back pairing of Al-Masri and captain Ahmad Al-Nasri. Ange Postecoglou hoping to become the first ever Australian to guide his country to the World Cup. 2 more matches before he reaches the half-century mark, and if they get there, he hopes that he'll still be in charge. And Ayman Hakim, this his 20th match in his 2nd spell as Syrian football manager, taken over since the 3rd round of the qualifiers. You can see him just cradling himself a little bit, showing you just how cold it can be for the Syrian players. For the Australians, much better this time around against the stifling heat of Malacca just 5 days ago. They much prefer the weather conditions here in Sydney. For Tim Cahill, he hasn't scored a goal for the Australians now in 10 internationals. His last 6th of September last year. He's never gone a calendar year without notching a goal for his national team. And they hope that his introduction would galvanize the squad a little bit and put more intensity on the players. Omar Al-Soma, the number 9, goals will be rested on his shoulders for the Syrians tonight. He scored the penalty that ensured that this tie came to Sydney at 1 apiece. Well, the last time these fans turned out almost in droves in a World Cup qualifying game was when they played Uruguay here in 2005, and that was a famous night as well, alongside their Asian Cup triumph. They beat Uruguay by 1-0 and then qualified for their first World Cup in 32 years on penalties. Can they go through to the next round now, as Robbie Cruz has scored the goal for the Australians in the first leg? Tries to start the Socceroos on the front foot straight away. They're looking to just press on the Syrians as much as possible, because that's exactly what they did in the opening minutes of that game in the first leg before they gassed out a little bit in the second half. Tim Cahill, as always, a little springboard in him, never goes away, winning one in the air. Milligan also winning one, this time in the middle of the pitch. Really protected the defense well enough. Loose pass from Milligan though, as the Syrians come forward with Mohamed Al-Mawas. Need to be brave on the ball, Syria. The goals away from home in the World Cup qualifiers haven't been too good and too splendid. One will be kept neatly, very well defended in the end by Matthew Leckie. Played well in the first leg, Leckie. Linked well with the attack, and it was from his cross shot to Robbie Cruz, diverted it into the back of the net for Australia's opening goal of that first leg. He has been in very good scoring form for the national side. 3 goals in his last 6 internationals after going 18 without one. Aaron Moy surprisingly left out of this game. Huddersfield Town midfielder, might be called upon in the later stages. But, whenever they've needed shots of inspiration, Ange Postecoglou knows he can always call on his captain for the night, Tim Cahill. He, of course, the 2015 AFC Coach of the Year. How fortunes have changed after going through a couple of draws, too many draws, you might say. These World Cup qualifiers, some people calling for his head, unbelievably. Brad Smith now marauding forward and supporting the attack as much as possible from left wing back. Robbie Cruz. It's one thing to start the game at 100 miles an hour. It's another to actually maintain it, something which the Australians haven't done in the last 3 World Cup qualifiers, where they've conceded goals in the last 10 minutes of play. So pacing themselves is very much part of it. We talk about contrasting both these teams, and their fans come into this match in contrasting moods. The Syrians just can't believe how far they've come in the World Cup qualifiers. The Australians just can't believe they haven't qualified automatically. But nothing more than a convincing win here. Who knows, those factors might switch again. Sainsbury, who did superbly against Al Soma in the first leg, wins that one in the air. Al Soma, though, does likewise with the second challenge. That one's played behind the defense, but Al Soma was in an offside position, as he was on 6 occasions in the first leg. Superb turn this one was by Rogic. Still Rogic finding room for a brilliant ball right through. Chance for the opening shot of the game, which does come in from Troisi, but he was boxed out well enough. And that has got the Australian crowd happy and clapping indeed. It all started by the Celtic midfielders' rampaging run forward. A little bit more meat behind that slide rule pass through to Rogic, and who knows, it would have been in front of him instead of him trying to generate all the energy and power himself. Smith, acres of space in front of him, which he runs onto fortuitously. He's hung that one up in the air forever, and the goalkeeper, well, he was confident enough to let it run. Ibrahim Alma, Brad Smith of Bournemouth, one of 5 players in the Australian side who play in England. He's never scored for his country, but he does produce some deadly deliveries on the run. Much better going forward than he is tracking back and defending. And that's a reason why for these home legs he usually gets a starting call-up. Cahill went out of that challenge against Jihad El Baour. Here is Al Soma. It's well read by Matthew Leckie. The moment that he dispatched that header, came running straight forward to win that second ball. Got himself into a neat little tussle over there with him. Uday Abdul Jafar is making his first start in the World Cup qualifiers since September 2015. Leckie. Hauled down by Muayyad Al-Jan. Australians dictating the pace of the opening exchanges, but given away by Mark Milligan. Here comes the counter-attack. Al Soma's broken clear. Al Soma! Syria have scored! Unbelievable! 3-3 now for Omar Al Soma. And boy, did he keep his composure. Mark Milligan, who was such a standout performer in the first leg, has looked very nervous in these opening minutes, and it was from his giveaway that the breakout was on for Tamir Haj Mohammed, who felled Al Soma, but he still had a lot to do. And against one of the best goalkeepers in Asia, Matthew Ryan, he just dispatched that unnervingly. Incredible scenes. one counter, one goal. The Australians need to settle now. There definitely is goals in the Australian side, and there's no need to panic in these early stages. Postecoglou, all question marks will be raised to the Australian coach for the benching of Aaron Moy. Especially with a loose pass like that in midfield. It doesn't look too good for Brad Smith as well. He's called to the bench already to say that something snapped over there. I think his game is done. He's done. Those reactions, frustrations that come out. Quad is gone. With running and galloping so much part of Brad Smith's game. It'll be a miracle if he comes right back onto the pitch. Here's Matthew Leckie. Cat put right amongst the pigeons now with that strike from Alma Al-Soma. The Syrians will be happy to play it all the way back to the goalkeeper. I'm sure their coach Ayman Hakim has told them that expect the Australians to jump straight at them, come right out off the blocks running. But even he, in his wildest dreams, couldn't have thought of the start that they've had and that goal from Al-Soma. Degenek certainly looked a little laborious in trying to chase Al-Soma back to cover for the only goal of the game. Well, it's totally miskicked it. It's not going right for Australia now, and the last thing they need with nerves playing such a big part in the opening minutes of this game is for the crowd to go against them. Mark Milligan, well, he'll be experienced enough to try to forgive himself for that mistake and try to settle down a lot more. Robbie Cruz wants the ball, goal scorer of the first leg. Trying to make sure that as always runs across the central attacking four and the attacking triumvirates whenever Cruz plays. Brad Smith is running, looks okay again after being gingerly. But then again, the physiotherapist is called to the bench because he has informed them that there's still that slight little bit of pain in his thigh when he makes those sprints. Syrians just diving into any challenge and every challenge. Omar Al-Soma trying to feed that one right through in the middle to Uday Abdul Jafar. Well, we know this boy's got goals in him, Al-Soma. Australians just left him alone. Uday Al-Mawas wide of him. Still Uday. Player wide out on the right. They haven't spotted him though, and that's a very poor pass because wide out on the right, Fahd Yusuf had made himself available and had acres of space in front of him. Well, Aaron Moy hasn't been left out for too long. Takes the place of Brad Smith and force change. There will be a change to the formation as well, with Aaron Moy coming in. Quizzical looks on the Australian fans when the team sheets were read before the start of the match. Aaron Moy, two-time Australian Player of the Year, is left out. Well, he's back in again. Lots of players getting a little bit of the slip here in a pitch that was watered just before the start of the game. Much better playing surface than it was at the Hangjabat Stadium. Mayad Ajan just abandoning post for a while to join up with the attack. Yerman. It'll be Robbie Cruz who will be taking Brad Smith's place down the flanks. Degenek, another one of those players who's had a very nervous start to the game. It's a more confident ball to Rogic. They need his lung-bursting runs, box-to-box roll. Just moving forward as much as possible to support the attack, because he is quite a sight when he is in full flow. The thing here is to get him in full flow. Troisi loses out Moy's first time pass, looking for Cahill, who had dropped. Malta's first start since that defeat against Japan. Sainsbury not taking the chance that Al Soma was in an offside position. Moy kept it alive to Rogic. Leckie just ahead of him. Uses Matthew Leckie. Crosses a brilliant one, and here is the equalizer. That man again. Watch out, the corner flag. Is he going to knock it down? No, he's just going to fly right into the arms of his teammates, because that was a sumptuous delivery from the flanks from Matthew Leckie. And Tim Cahill has put the Socceroos right back in it. His 49th international goal, and it could be one of the most important ones. Timmy Cahill scores his first goal since the 6th of September last year. You can't put a good man down. So he carries on his amazing streak of scoring in every calendar year for the national team since his debut. But the magnitude of that equalizer, the importance of it, that's the reason why the talisman is put right there. A headed goal from Tim Cahill. Sounds familiar. Rogic and Leckie combining again, just as they did to create the cross for Cahill. El Jaid does well enough to Taj Mohammed. And does the clever thing to play it off to Australians who actually boxed him out. Troisi looking once again for his captain. And all of a sudden the Australians on the ascendancy, getting their tails right back in this and sniffing more goals now against a Syrian side who must have been rocked, because after scoring that early goal, first thing they do is that they need to concede the equalizer in double quick time, which they did. Free kick to Syria. Late challenge by Degenek. Said he had ball. Well, even if he had the ball, quickness of Madikian comes sliding in this day and age. Will always be guilty of giving away a free kick. Australians, of course, as we expected, winning in the possession department, but it's 1-1 on the night itself. If the game ends this way, we're going into extra time. Somehow I don't think the game's going to end this way, with a fiery start that we've had. Troisi, Al Giant's shot, charged down, tried to keep it alive to Al Soma. Stout enough in terms of the defense. The takedown, brilliantly killed that time. It's a superb ball as well. This time Al Soma was onside, and that takedown in the pass from Mahmoud Al Mawaz was quite a sight. Just a little too much sugar behind that ball. Couldn't have asked for a better start to this game. Syria scoring early from Omar Al-Soma. Tim Cahill with a clapback for Australia. Aaron Moy. So overran it slightly. Al-Mawas. A little too eager to feed Al-Soma with the pass. Rogic, who has been heavily involved in these early stages of the match. Troisi, ground which holds special memories for him, of course. Troisi, the stadium that he scored the winning goal in extra time against South Korea in the Asian Cup. Aaron Moy caught in possession. The charging Uday Abdul Jafar. So one thing with the Syrians, they do come down at you, and really a lot of their play in these World Cup qualifiers, especially since Ayman's taken over in the third round, it's just been exemplified by the fact that they ensure that always try to make it a 2-on-1 situation in their favor at any given moment, whether they're defending or moving forward. The Australians did likewise in that first leg. 1-1 is the score here tonight, 2-2 on aggregate. Cahill's broken clear. Can they find him? It's going for goal instead. Almost defeating Alma. The near post was Troisi. Well, Cahill had made a darting run across him, looking for any sort of a ball played behind the defense, but Troisi's decided to use him as a decoy and went for goal himself. Corner to Australia. 30% of their goals in these qualifiers have been scored from set-piece situations. Are they going to take advantage of another one? Moy's delivery is very good as always. Aaron Moy not wasting any time at all, just whipping one inside the box. The moment he gets Robbie Cruz does the sensible thing, maintain possession. Well, he's asked for the ball, Cruz, to be played by Milligan right at the back. He made a run behind the defense, Syrian defense, which played a very high line in the first leg, only for the Australians to break it down time and again, but Juric never really had the pace to get behind the centre-backs. Fard, turn was good enough as they break once again. Try to attack this reeling Australian defense. No nonsense from Matthew Ryan. It's now 9 matches without a clean sheet for Matthew Ryan. Gone past the first 20 minutes and it's blown by. With the fervor these two sides have started this match with. Very energetic. Very captivating. Soma is always getting himself in the mix, putting his body around, at time trying to bully Yerman. Cruz. Mark Milligan must be as chuffed as anybody else. Cahill scored that goal. Robbie Cruz, Cahill in the box once again asking for the ball to be played back to him, but Cruz was in an offside position. But the axis of the attack once again as the number 23, Thomas Rogic. The Syrians just can't deal with his physicality and his vision. Where was he in that first leg? huge surprise that Postecoglou left him out of that first leg. Rogic to set up the move for Leckie for the opening Australian equalizer, but they've got behind the Australian defense. Once again, they've targeted this right-hand side. Degenik is having huge problems dealing with the likes of Madikian, Almawas and Al-Soma. They've targeted the Yokohama Marinos right centre-back more than any other player. Rogic. Cruz got the lucky break and decided to take it. Well, after the electrifying start, which really bounced into the tune of a speed metal song, settled down a little bit now, the game. Both teams to try to trade punches and spar with one another. The Australians always looking the more dangerous of the two teams and looking the more likely to score the go-ahead goal of this game. Al-Soma. Sainsbury refusing to get out-muscled. Aaron Moy. Robbie Cruz, Troisi asking for the ball, decides to bring it back to Moy. Now Troisi gets the ball, only to be tackled straight away by a splendid challenge being thrown in by Alboa. Matthew Leckie, creator of the equalizer, storming right back from his right wing back's position just to cover up some gaps opening up in the center of the park. Much more composed from the Australians. Troisi, Leckie out wide once again. Not enough juice behind that pass though. Leckie's refusing to give this up. Has he given away a free kick or has he won it? The referee's given it in favor of the Australians, much to the disgust of Ayman Hakim. He thought that it should have been called for Syria for that little tug by Leckie on Moayad. Or has it gone the other way now? Well, Leckie's got a yellow card for that. So it should have gone Syria's way, that free kick, and now it has. And Ayman will be given a talking to. Milligan loses one in the air. Sainsbury, as always, imperious. This time, charging foul called on Madik Matkian. Man whose cross led to the penalty and serious equalizer in the first leg. Well, he's given the task of playing off Al-Soma tonight in place of Omar Karbin. Not easy shoes to fill. Yerman. Cruz had to check weight of the ball, it's played behind him. Aaron Moy now with space to create. And the Australian creative director has done superbly well. Syrians every right to feel aggrieved by that decision. It came off Rogic's other foot, but Australia have won this corner. Convincing punch out by Alma. Cruz will keep this one in play. Just about kept in play for Moy. Troisi really peeling off and dropping a lot deeper than a lot of people expected him to. Everyone expected him to be dovetailing Tim Cahill in attack. Cruz. Cahill in the box, screaming and asking for the ball. Aaron Moy. The run is rampaging. Cahill! Syria got lucky. Cleverly worked between Troisi and Moy. And give credit to Zahir Al-Madani. The defensive midfielder turned centre-back because of the missing defenders. Got right in the mix and right in front of Cahill. But Aaron Moy is showing his appetite for this now. The Australian creative director, when he's in this sort of mood, when he's just touching off and making sure that the metronome is ticking for the Australians, they can be pretty unstoppable. Yet again they find Cruz. Yet again he's offside. Well, we talked about Rogic and his exploits, running in from deep, running box to box with his physicality. But Aaron Moy is the one they turn to in terms of just pulling the strings in the middle of the park. When he is in this sort of mood, the Australians are hard to stop. Put a man on him, he's just touching off and finding players peeling away from him. It's almost like the stem from which those Australian leaves and branches are built upon. Syrians have kept up their bargain in terms of the ferocity of their challenges, being combative in the middle of the park. Finding this referee, though, at least not to their disliking, not to their liking in terms of whistles called, but he's done a good job so far. Those have been fouls against the Australians. Leckie once again. Still Matthew Leckie. Leckie! Found the gap, but not the middle of the post. Well, they've concentrated their attacks in the last 10 minutes down the left-hand side with Robbie Cruz, but the moment it goes down this right-hand side, Matthew Leckie has shown the sprightly ability to get behind the defense. Ajad. Al-Soma didn't show that same appetite was given by Al-Mawas. Didn't really think Al-Mawas was going to win the header. The diminutive forward actually did. He didn't keep pace with him. Fahd Yusuf had to burst a hamstring to get to the ball. These fleeting moments of attack from Syria, they need to really make it count instead of giving the ball away cheaply and easily. Nervous moments as Ibrahim Alma had to come and cover. Goalkeeper is looking for an early present, turns 26 in a week. Now there's some space opening up for the Assyrians. Try to take advantage of Fahd Yusuf, though, gives the ball away cheaply yet again. Rogic bursting forward, bursting clear. Not the second challenge though. It's a stupendous one that's just been thrown in by tigerish Jihad Al-Baou. Milligan will settle much better after those nervous opening minutes. Moy, once again that touch pass, delightful. Cahill. Well, Robbie Cruz really has got to watch himself a little better, because he's got the whole back line to look at, down on the flanks, and he's got to keep himself onside. There we go. Well, that was onside. It was a poor decision in the end by the assistant referee. It certainly wasn't Tim Cahill. The moment Cruz touched the ball, that's when the flag went up, but it shouldn't have gone up. He was in an onside position, but a couple of times already he has been caught on the wrong side of offside. It's usually a criminal sin for flankers to be caught in an offside position. Almawas versus Yerman. There's always going to be one winner. The moment the ball was guided up, airborne. Al-Soma, Mardikian couldn't carry that run through against an Australian defense which was converging and just clamping down on the Syrian attackers. Well, the Australians haven't lost a playoff match at home. In World Cup qualifiers. Even the likes of Uruguay twice last year. Argentina drew here as well. So what chance, you say, of Syria? It's an enviable home record. They've only lost once at home in the last 9 World Cup qualifying campaigns, and that came against China back in 2008. So it's 20 unbeaten at home. The record looks to continue the way they've started this match, aside from that goal, which was born really out of carelessness in the middle of the park from Mark Milligan. Rogic, Leckie, Cahill, Troisi, and recently Aaron Moy. They found it so hard to deal with them. Rogic, almost true to form and word, slapped it into the back of the net. He was waiting for the ball to sit, but while doing that, showed great upper body strength, and then that uncanny ability to spot. Great awareness from Tom Jorgic. Marakian. Uday Abdul Jafar. Still Uday. Much better work by Deganek. Rogic breaking out, breaking clear once again with Troisi, and now Cruz. Cahill trying to stay in an offside position to make sure that the defense is pushed back to as much as possible and as deep as possible so that his midfielders can run onto it. It's done the work. His midfielders have come up and caught up. Milos Deganek happy to recycle with Matthew Ryan of Brighton Hove Albion. And here's Mark Milligan, who's returned to the A-League for this season, having spent a couple of years playing in the UAE. The outlet, Robbie Cruz, yet again. This time he can't believe it's a ball wasn't given the Socceroos way. Robbie Cruz was very vocal after the first leg. the penalty award. Omar Al-Soma. Well, it's unnecessary from Yerman. Al-Soma was not going anywhere. The last thing you need to actually put the ball down and give them an opportunity to regroup, get themselves organized and get themselves well fitted for the next offensive approach. He was actually running back into traffic. Lecky. Intelligent touch from Lecky. Didn't take that one down cleanly, but took it down to exactly where he was going to turn to. Here's Milligan now. Cruz once again, loads of space on the outside if they intend to use him, which Yerman does. Rogic side by side with him, looking for the square pass. Troisi apologizes for that pass, which is trying to pierce right through and eviscerate that Syrian defense, which can be watertight at times. 2 early goals, 1 apiece. Lecky to Rogic. Yet again, they can't keep pace with him. Tom Rogic. Elbow. With that headed clearance, Cruz, Troisi. Just Cahill in the penalty box, lurking and waiting to pounce. Aaron Moy now. Just Lecky on the outside, uses him, a rare loose touch by Lecky. See what Moy was trying to do, the unpredictable routes inside to Troisi. It's headed away. And once again, the out ball only finding Omar Soma. He's made himself enough of a nuisance to ensure that Australia give the ball away. Madikian, still Madikian. Couldn't get the run around Lecky. Troisi. Five minutes remaining of the first half. First 20 minutes just blown by. The last 20, it's really a case of Australia increasing on their possession stats and trying to lay siege on this Syrian backline, which for the moment has stayed organized and tight enough. Troisi, Robbie Cruz. Well, the crowd wanted him to have a thumper. Instead, he went for the lob inside the penalty box and found a Syrian head. You've got to be really patient. Syria with a come get us policy. And a ball out to Soma with a get out of jail policy at any given time. Here is that opportunity for the counter-attack now. Milligan will be the second player booked after Matthew Lecky. This time on the hard-working Madikian. There's a lot of hard running in him. Industrious player, works hard for the team. And Milligan didn't have the most accomplished of starts to this match. Slowly creeping his way and asserting his influence a lot more in this game after those nervous opening minutes. Rogic Once again, that's ball to Lecky. It says, run for it, mate. Soft foul to be called by the referee. Looked as if it was just two guys shoulder charging in a man's game. Certainly Ange Postecoglou thought so. Moment you put that body aside and divert a player away from the ball. That's what usually happens in the modern game. Moyes broken clear. Well, he's allowed the ball to bounce, and that really took all the impetus of the attack away. Uday Abdul-Jafar making his first start for Syria since September last year. Was left out of the third round of qualifiers as Postecoglou has a look through now. As I said, some sections of the Australian supporters calling for his head, despite the fact that he won them the 2015 Asian Cup. 7 of his 11 draws accrued as Australian manager came in his last 13 matches. So these Australian crowds are certainly sick and tired of seeing their team failing to pick up 3 points. But most of their business in World Cup qualifiers is always done at home. This year, the 10th home game in the World Cup qualifiers. In the previous 9, only Japan have escaped from Australia without a defeat. Lecky. Well, they certainly look more dangerous and more lethal whenever they come down this right-hand side with Matthew Lecky. Moy spotted that pass straight away before he turned. Clever, vision impeccable. Matthew Yearman to Aaron Moy. Buttery from Moy. Lecky. Subtle enough. Defending stout though by Fahad. Very strong in that challenge. So too was Yearman in winning the ball back a minute at a time in that first half. Can Australia score late to this first half? Is that a penalty? Troisi's called for it. The crowd wanted it just as much. The referee, though, who was just a yard away from where it happened, said it was accidental. Certainly did touch the hand of the Syrian defender. It's just been a Syrian soak and strike in this first 45 minutes. And in the last 23, the second half of this first half, they have just been soaking. Incessant Australian pressure, possession, making sure the ball is switched from left to right, but not being able to penetrate the Syrian backline, which has stood firm so far. They were given an early lead by that man, Omar Al-Soma, after a mistake by Mark Milligan. But the veteran of the side and the captain of the night, Tim Cahill, with a clapback, responded with his 49th international goal and his first in over a year for an all-important equaliser, which brings this game at the half at 1-1 and 2-2 on aggregate.
soccer roots.
Dealt with it well. Knitting in ahead of Tamahash Mohammed. Down the line by Rogic. Lecky goes for a side. Great ball. Cahill, goal! 1-1. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. International goal. Troisi came fetched. Puts it back off Cruz. They're working those combinations well again. Troisi, Cahill, and it dribbles across. Now those combinations down that left side in particular are paying.
Thank you to our official timekeeper, the Asian qualifiers, road to Russia. Spectators must not enter or attempt to enter the field of play or playing arena without lawful authority. Any person who does not comply with the spectator code of behaviour or who otherwise causes a disturbance may be evicted from the venue and may be banned from attending future matches. Get behind the Socceroos and tell Australia you're here. Post your photos or videos and don't forget to use the hashtag #GoSocceroos and our matchday hashtags AUSVSYR and hashtag Road to Russia. Now if you're a Snapchat user, don't forget when sharing to your story with friends, tick the Our Story box. There's a few filters you can choose from and the best snaps will be featured across Australia on Snapchat tonight. Don't forget to head to the merchandise outlet and grab the latest Socceroos gear. We have jerseys and scarves, headwear, footballs, and the whole lot more.
In these big matches, and this
Second half about to get underway here at Stadium Australia. Can you please welcome back out onto the pitch, Syria and your Socceroos!
Stadium Australia in Sydney. Second half about to go between Australia and Syria. The Syrians are scoring early, but the Australians behind only for 6 minutes before that man, Tim Cahill, popped up with the equaliser, scoring against the 28th different country, Syria. After this man, Omar Al Soma, the number 9, had given them the lead via a mistake by Mark Milligan. They always have goals in them, Australia. Do they have a couple more in this second half to thrill their fans and move on to the next stage of the World Cup qualifying playoffs? Will Firas Al-Khatib get his opportunity to come on, lay siege and effect a change the same way he did in the first leg when he came on midway through the second half? Well, they have some defending to do. They've got to be a little stronger in the challenge and more combative against Rogic. who certainly was supreme and so strong in the first 45 minutes. He and Moy played superbly at the heart of midfield. It's a real conundrum for the Australians, and a good one as well to have, because on the right-hand side, Matthew Leckie has delivered the more telling crosses, ones that are more likely to puncture. There's a very stout and strong and well-organized Syrian defense, whereas the combinations between Moy, Troisi and Cruz being a lot more telepathic and a lot prettier down the left-hand side. It's just the final pass hasn't been as good as Leckie's in his delivery for Tim Cahill, who's waiting for another cross to come in from Leckie now. This time couldn't get enough elevation behind it. Syria just boxed him out fast enough. Moy, foot certainly was high enough. It's a free kick given away. That challenge on Tamer Mohammed. Does come back to help out with the defense as much as possible. Tamer, one of 3 players in the squad playing in Oman for Al Dorfa. Well, they are the highest scorers. They've scored more goals than any other side in the road to Russia. 46 already. 47 with Cahill's header. And counting, Australia. Moy had eyes behind his back to know exactly where Cahill was. And he had muscles behind his back to keep out the challenge of Taj. Deganek to Milligan, 2 players who've settled a lot better after the first 10 minutes, after a very nervy opening to the game for them. Here's Yerman. It's going to be a free kick, surely. No advantage for the Australians. Aaron Moy couldn't have gotten at the end of that ball. It's clattered uncourteously by Madik Madikian. Well, it was overzealousness more than maliciousness in trying to get to that ball. That's his first Syrian booked in this game. Rogic, once again, upper body strength, really good. Shielded the ball well enough and won a free kick. They just cannot and do not know how to get the ball off the number 23. From the first stages of this game, where he opened up his strides and ran past the Syrian defense and set up a chance for James Troisi, Tommy Rogic has perhaps been the incisive ploy in this Australian team throughout this second leg. And now he's won a free kick in Aaron Moy territory. Moy hasn't scored for Australia since scoring in this stadium in a match against Jordan on the 29th of March last year. Will this be the time for Aaron Moy? It is on target. Goalkeeper Ibrahim Alma, though, did enough and was clever enough to scoot across to make sure that the angle was covered behind the wall. Here's Cahill. Cruz running right ahead of him in support. Yerman. Milligan's got Leckie on the outside. The space closed down already, though, so Deganek's got to look the other way around. In fact, he goes right back to Leckie, with not a lot of room in front of him. Sainsbury is free, decides to recycle the ball. It goes to Milligan. Here is Yerman. Shimmy shake. 2 Syrian players defeated. Not the best of passes, though, by his fellow centre-back, Deganek. It's easily read by the Syrians. Fluidity of the Australians sometimes can be eye-catching, but at times, moments that they are less mobile up front, and the moment that they have less movement up front, especially players just peeling away across to make those slashing runs across those Syrian midfielders, that's when they suffer a little bit, and have got to play the ball all the way back to their defenders and goalkeeper. Yerman. Rogic. Ball lost, came off Afad Youssef. No offside from the throws. Robbie Cruz is all right for this one. Not the best of throws though. Didn't give him any opportunities at all to latch himself onto that ball. Here's Rogic. Works the space well enough with Troisi. Troisi. Very late call from the goalkeeper that it was his ball. And Zahir Al-Midani took no chances. The combination of Al-Midani and Al-Bawa ensured that Australia couldn't pierce anything past the Syrian backline. Moy. Surely referee's going to call it back for a free kick. No, he isn't. Aaron Moy thought he was clipped. The referee thought otherwise. Mark Milligan now with space to operate and create. Rogic. Poor pass that one was by Madikian. Had to keep the ball a lot longer than he did. Al-Mawas will come chasing back to stop the threat of Aaron Moy. Robbie Cruz. A little too low with the cross, and Cahill certainly was leading into his opponent. Fangs have been bared by the Australians in the second half. They're trying to take it by the scruff of the neck, the likes of Aaron Moy and gang. They have been dominating proceedings in the middle of the park since he's been on. Now to make sure the defense as safe as possible. Oh, they dwelled with danger and played around too long. Somehow got away with it. Matt Ryan, 2 outstanding saves in the first leg in Hangjabat and Malacca. Especially one flying one, I remember, from the left fullback Muayyad Ajan after Syria had clinched the equalizer. It's proved to be just as crucial as the away goal scored by Robbie Cruz. Yerman unchallenged. Fahd Youssef. Oh, they're giving away possession way too cheaply for the likes of Ayman Hakim, the coach, and his assistant coaches, who are getting off their bench at the moment and shouting at the players to be a lot braver whenever they have the ball. It's hard though when the Australians just come at you at every given minute. Cruz with the ball inside to Cahill, almost dropped for Moy. Jihad Alba ensuring that that one just pinged off the chest of Cahill. It's a cushion more than anything else. Nothing potent came out of that. Al Soma. Still Al Soma. Al-Mawas trying to get himself onside, and because of that, the ball's diverted away to the right-hand side. Yerman had to win that header with Al-Mawas just behind him. Lecky trying to use the pace to get around the back line. Good pressing this from the Australians, very good pressing indeed. Lecky leading the charge. Moy. Only Cahill in the box, surrounded by 3 Syrians. It's typical Syria defending, isn't it? Just throwing their bodies around. Al Soma wasn't too happy with that delivery from Al-Mawas, who wanted the ball and wanted his run ahead. Rogic, still Rogic. Spear towards the top corner. It's not enough meat behind that shot, and it was meat and drink for Ibrahim Alma. He too produced 2 world-class saves in that first leg. Takedown by Madikian was delightful. Still Madikian. Sainsbury had to stretch and win because Al-Soma was all set and ready for any sort of mistakes from the centre-back. Almawas. Still Almawas. Totally blocked by a sea of yellow. Fahd Yusuf has had so little time to come forward and support the attack of the right full-back. Madikian will keep this in play. Madikian goes for goal. That really shocked the goalkeeper, Matthew Ryan, more than anything else, because everyone expected the cross to come in. Was on target. Ryan was alert enough to ensure that it didn't beat him in his near post. Once again, a loping figure of Rogic moving forward, asking for the ball as much as possible. Sainsbury, who had brought it into the opposition half, has got to go back now. Ensure that he commands his back line, which he did quite splendidly in the first leg. Fahd Yusuf has been kept honest and busy all night long, thanks to Robbie Cruz. Ball given away too easily yet again. So many times already that has happened. Hamid Mido, that time the guilty party. Troisi. You have to give credit to Zahir Al-Madani, a man who's just cleared the ball. Second game in a row, he's been tasked to captain the side, playing in a centre-back's role, which he's very unfamiliar with. But he stood up strong against Juric in the first leg. Here against Cahill in the second leg. It's Firas Al-Khatib time. Troisi. Cruz, who's seen a lot of ball in this match. Lecky, who's been in splendid goal-scoring form for his club side Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga. The top scorer of the season with 4 goals. Aaron Moy. Fahd Yusuf. Fighting the goalkeeper to complete the clearance, and he did. Oh, here's a player who in 2012 came out and supported the opposition in Syria, and he was frozen out of the team until the 3rd round of qualifiers. Mazy run by Rogic, hung up there. Well, Moayed Al-Jan was screamed at by his teammates for heading the ball behind for a corner, but he really had no choice then, because he was backpedaling and he was unaware that there was no one behind him. What can the Australians do with their 4th corner of the night? Moy's gone near post for all of them. That's another one! And that's very close for Matthew Lecky. So much whip and curl behind that corner that Lecky just had to glance instead of generating his very own power with his neck muscles. Uday Al-Jafal will be replaced by Firas Al-Khatib, returning to national team fold. Something very old-fashioned about this player, this 34-year-old, winning his 59th cap. His directness, even right down to the way he conducts himself on the pitch. Pulls up his shorts every now and again. You'll be forgiven for believing this is the 1978 World Cup qualifier instead of a 2018 one. Here he is, Firas Al-Khatib. As I said, direct as you'd get. Madikian, Al-Soma, Madikian! Scuffed. Easy pickings and gatherings for Matthew Ryan. Cruz wanted a free kick and he got a belated flag. A very belated flag. Al-Mawas wasn't too happy with the assistant referee's decision. So far the officials have got all their calls right, and that one was a clip on the ankles of Cruz. It's an intriguing final half hour of the second leg of the Asian Zone World Cup qualifiers. Moy, once again, Lecky found himself free, but having to backpedal might not be such an advantageous position now to hurt. Rogic offside, Cahill once he gets involved. Well, that very much is Tim Cahill's game, isn't it? It's playing on the shoulder of the last man, sometimes even behind him, to ensure that the back line drop as deep as possible for his midfielders, the likes of Tommy Rogic, to come and join in support of the attack. Sometimes when the ball's played in behind the defense, that's what you get. Al-Muad, clever. Al-Soma, he managed to get it on target, but from that angle, with his so-called weaker left foot, although he scored with it earlier on, it was always going to be difficult to beat Matthew Ryan. Might have done better to keep it alive and bring in Al-Khatib. Troisi weaves his way around to find the angle for the cross. It drops for Aaron Moy. Rogic, tell you what, if that had gone through, Moy would have been through on goal, unprotected. There was protection for the Australians as Al-Khatib broke. Getting to that stage of the match where it's end-to-end, both sides hoping to score the goal that might clinch them passage to the Intercontinental playoff against a side that finishes fourth in CONCACAF. For the moment, that spot is being occupied by Panama. Cruz, Cahill in the box. Needed some lifting, that ball. Al-Khatib with the ball magnetized to his foot. Al-Soma continues the flow of the attack to Al-Khatib. Firas Al-Khatib with a crowd pleaser, held it up well enough. Al-Mawas, Madikian. It wasn't a bad cross. It wasn't to that corridor of doubt, but Al-Soma certainly isn't a player with that pace to run in behind the defense and go flying at those balls. Much better from Syria, though, is coming out of their shell and showing some attacking nous of their own. Well, what's he got on the bench? Tom Juric. If he needs some firepower up front, he's probably played all his cards already, especially with Omar Karbin out injured, or out suspended, I should say. Australia give the ball away. Too close to Matthew Ryan. This is not healthy living, is it? Australians in nail-biting mode already. Moy trying to match the run of Jogic, who's been everywhere tonight, Tom Rogic. Aaron Moy. Lucky deflection takes it out for a corner. Well, this is when the Australians need the crowd to just be stomping their feet and clapping them on and trying to draw the ball and suck the ball into the Syrian net. That they're trying to do as they raise the noise levels. Syrians raise their defensive levels and keep that one out. First time, not the second though by Cahill, who's somehow found room to plant a header. Aaron Moy. Brave defending by the Syrians. Matthew Ryan had to connect. He had to. Took the chance, the Brighton and Hove Albion custodian. Oh, it's a real bulldoze of a run then from Wad. He's got to go back to his left full back position now. As Australia try to build on another attack that's breathing down the flanks, using the width of the stadium. Rogic swashbuckling as always. At the time though, just failed to keep the ball under control. It's a little dink. Cahill gamble. That very much is a player with all the experience and a poacher's instinct, isn't it? Right place, right time. Milligan. Yerman. Almawas, who's played more minutes than any other player in these World Cup qualifying campaign anywhere around the world. Madikian. Just a little too hard. Can he? Oh, he somehow got to it. Firaz. I think Al Soma had given up on it as well, just as a lot of people at the stadium did, thinking that the ball played out by Madikian had just gone a little too hard, too far ahead of Firaz. But Firaz certainly made something out of it. And if Al Soma had shown the same sort of belief that Firaz did, might have just been a tap-in. Thankfully for the Australians, that was just a drag back and nothing else. Rogic, Moy. What a ball that was to Lecky. Rogic! Half the ground stood up, waiting for the net to bulge. But one Ibrahim Alma stood his ground, concentrated and repelled. Rogic once again makes room for the shot, just wide. Yet again, that same avenue which created Australia's equaliser, almost creating another opening for Tom Rogic. Lecky dragging it back to a perfect position for Rogic. Ibrahim Alma makes such an important catch. Almawas might have been offside if he had gotten involved with it. And because Syria have committed a couple of players forward, Robbie Cruz, he couldn't release the ball fast enough. It's given Syria enough time to get numbers back. Lecky. Still Lecky. Last came off the number 7. Challenge was by Muayyad Ajan. He's just scored the 1 goal for his country, though he's been trying to move forward as much as possible in the second half. He's always got to watch the runs of Matthew Lecky. Whenever he turns on the afterburners on Matthew Lecky, it's not the quickest when it comes to the first few meters acceleration. The moment he's in stride, he's so hard to shake off. Aaron Boy knows all about it. That's the reason why he put that delightful little ball in front of him behind the defense. Troisi. Poor pass to Firas. Easily picked up by Milligan. Robbie Cruz has got Tim Cahill and Aaron Moy in the penalty box, just behind Cahill, and Muayyad puts it further behind him to Troisi. Lecky, free kick, clear as day. One of the easier decisions for Afshan Irmatov to make. Sometimes yellow cards dished out for those two-footed challenges. This time though, Hamid Mido gets away with it. Firas El Khatib has told the bench that that might be game over for Mido. Nikita Rukavica.
Substitution for the Socceroos coming off number 14, James Troisi.
Well, no heroics, just as it was in the Asian Cup final for James Troisi. Kita Rukavica. One and only goal for Australia came in 2012 against South Korea. The last match, he had his first cap coming on as a substitute since 2013. He certainly has got the aerial prowess to trouble the Syrian defense, who can be very vulnerable in the air. Hamid Mido receiving treatment as they get all set and ready to bring on Ezra Al-Hamwiya for his first ever Syrian cap. Will he come on at 1-1 or at 2-1 Australia? Aaron Moy, who's already had a free kick on target, lining this somewhat with Rogic. Rogic drills it right into Robbie Cruz. It was very clever from the Celtic player. He expected the wall to jump, which did. Yerman, smart from him to keep it alive. First touch by Rukavica. Moy and Lecky combining once again. Aaron Moy. Wicked enough a deflection to take it away from goal. I'm sure it was on target until that deflection of a shot from Tamer Haj Mohammed. So Hamid Mido's race is run. Isra Al-Hamwiya late call-up to the national squad recently due to the spate of suspensions. His first job is to just blast it away. Anywhere would do for the 26-year-old winning his first cap. He plays in Bahrain, has already got 4 goals this season, but I'm sure preventing goals is top of the list of Ayman Hakim as we approach the final 15 minutes. They call this Syria time in the World Cup qualifiers. 36% of their goals have come at this stage. And for the Australians, they have to watch and keep their discipline. As we mentioned earlier, last 3 World Cup qualifying games, they've conceded goals in final 10 minutes of matches. This one's aimed at Rukovic. Well, we could see what he was trying to do. Lay it on the plate for Cahill. Al-Khatib happy enough to run into a channel to win a throw off Aaron Moy because there was no one running up front ahead of him. Everyone busy trying to organize and keep themselves. They have been titanium at the back. Not bulletproof, but certainly disciplined enough. A lot of times Ayman Hakim's men have just allowed the Australians enough time on the ball in midfield, allowing them to play their possession game happily. While making sure that the back moves in unison, led by Zahir Al-Madani, who certainly has been their standout performer in this second leg. But every time they go down the flanks, especially down the right-hand side with Lecky, Australians have found a lot of joy. They almost found some luck with that slip-up from Muayyad Ajan. Syria indebted to this man, Ibrahim Amar, for keeping them alive in the second half. 2 really good saves. It's a real up and under of a clearance, asking Al Soma to try to attack it. Uses towering qualities to keep that move alive. Sainsbury. Rogic, Moy, ball magnetized at the right foot of Aaron Moy. Panic stretching out of the bag by Jihad Alboa. First time that we've seen them desperately, not the first time we've seen them desperately just flinging their bodies around, keeping out and trying to repel an Australian attack. Lecky has found himself free yet again. Moy doesn't find him. Firas Al-Khatib, still Firas. He's run himself into traffic, Firas. Somehow still keeps possession of the ball. Al-Mawas losing out. Moy takes over. Al-Mawas, though, being a real pest, just biting at his ankles. And one bite too many, too hard. Yellow for Al-Mawas. The man who will always be famous in Syria for scoring that goal that got the whole world interested in this Syrian squad against China in Xi'an. A 1-0 victory. Lecky. Anywhere would do by Muayyad. Moy trying to free himself and find himself some room and angle for the cross. In the end, solid enough defending by the ever-reliable Tamer Haj Mohammed.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance at Stadium Australia tonight. Final crowd, 42,136.
10 minutes remaining, 42,136. Stadium slightly more than half filled. Disappointing for some Australians. That's atmosphere. It's usually more vociferous, more of a furnace than it has been tonight. I guess nerves come into play as well. Doubts creeping in since the third round of the qualifiers. And when Syria scored the opening goal, that's certainly some real tranquilizer darts that Al-Soma threw at the Australian crowd. But it'll come up in raptures if something comes about from this move. Milligan. Too straight though. Al-Soma is in an offside position. The goalkeeper should have kept the ball a lot longer, and I think Firas Al-Khatib is turning around to Ibrahim Elma and telling him right now, make sure that you take the ball and take your time. Let's not give the Australians enough incentives to come right back at us, because they have been swarming all over the Syrian defense in the second half. Moy. Yerman took two to take the ball off Cahill. Al-Soma. Sainsbury, Yerman. Omar Al-Soma continues the chase. Sainsbury is told that there was a man on. Not the best of passes by Matthew Leckie. Probably the worst pass that he's hit tonight. Moayed thought that he had won the throw, but the last came off the number 3 from Syria. After the industry of Aaron Moy rescued was a very poor pass out. Trent Sainsbury. Yerman. Cruz. Rukavica. To pull across from Nikita Rukavica. He's already made 2 changes. Will there be trump card that he's about to be using now? Ange Postecoglou. The busy Firas Al-Khatib. Trying to angle it right into the head of Omar. Matthew Ryan himself trying to angle. That's a long diagonal goal kick onto the head of Tim Cahill. Oh, almost pilfered by Cahill. Rogic. Milligan. Leckie's made a very good run and a clever run behind the defense. Here he is on the ball. Still Leckie. Leckie. The Syrians know all about that move already. It happened in the first leg when he had that shot across goal, turned behind and into goal by Robbie Cruz, and he almost did it again by opening his body up onto his left foot. Firas wants the ball. It is played behind to Firas. Omar Sawa. Oh, Firas so unlucky. He wanted the ball played just ahead of him, but that was the only route that Al-Soma had. Couldn't put it in front for Al-Khatib, who slipped The Australians surely are not going to put this ball out of play. They have no reason to, they have no right to. Madikian's gone down injured, but the Socceroos have played on. Rukavica, still Rukavica, stealing a yard, keeping possession. Moy thought about that pass to Lecky. Al-Mawas with Al-Khatib's help, putting the ball behind for treatment to be meted out to Madek Madikian. Protecting 7 unbeaten matches, Syria, in all competitions. Best run ever under coach Ayman Hakim. The Australian crowd and Milos Degenek have got a right to complain, you know, because if he is out injured, they're supposed to carry him out. There we go, the stretcher's supposed to come out and carry him out for the treatment to be dished out there and not on the pitch. Well, whatever the outcome of this game, Osama Omari was a top scorer in the Syrian Premier League last season, getting ready to come on for Syria. Whatever the outcome of this game, Syria can hold their heads high after capturing the world's imagination in these World Cup qualifiers. Look at someone like Aaron Moy, his weekly wage is akin to the winning prize money for the winning team in a Syrian Premier League season. This new boy coming in and showing off his very own fangs, Ezra Amawi. Looked an honest challenge. He's the 5th player in the referee's books tonight. No surprise, the possession stats have gone up considerably in this second half for the Australians. But aside from a Tommy Rogic shot, Aaron Moy free kick, goalkeeper has been largely untroubled. Just that incisive final ball missing for the Australians. Lecky. Splendid, marvelous upper body strength. Robbie Cruz kept possession well enough. Cruz, Rukavica, Rogic! Well, it was going wide, and it was almost diverted into his own net by Zahir Al-Madani, which would have been very cruel because he has been Syria's best performer. Check that again. I think it was going in, you know, until his intervention. Moy's corner, headed away by Jihad. The tireless, indefatigable Al-Mawas will chase after this. They've done well enough to defend from the front and force the mistake from the Australians. Osama Omari ready to come on now. He will take the place of Madek Madikian. Omar Karbin, their top scorer, is missing. But his cousin, who's playing in the Syrian Premier League only because he's conscripted, is ready to add some freshness and zest into the Syrian side, who, remember, have scored so many goals in added time in these playoffs. Well, Cahill, two captains almost exchanging armbands then, Tim Cahill and Al-Khatib. Firas Al-Khatib, ball too straight. Osama tried to make something out of it, but it's gifted possession right back to the Australians, who do likewise. And then the Syrians do likewise with a very poor ball forward to Al-Mawas. Defense that has been born out of steely stuff from Syria will be called to the fore now, with Aaron Moy dictating, spreading play superbly. Handball called on Robbie Cruz. That certainly was an offside. Oh, it wasn't. It's two decisions against Robbie Cruz already that have been wrong. One in the first half where he wasn't offside, and that one certainly wasn't handball. Rukavica, Moy, just cramped out of it. Not the best of passes by Tamer Haj. Otherwise, Almaz would have been free. You give Syria extra time and penalties, now they'll shake your hand and take it. Not so much the Australians, who, remember, were the first side ever to qualify for FIFA World Cup finals via a penalty shootout. That happened in 2005 against Uruguay on this very ground. With the goals scored in the opening 13 minutes of this match, no one would have expected extra time, but we are just a minute away from it. Moy, Rogic, who's done everything in his power to ensure that this doesn't go into extra time. Lecky, Rogic, he's lost track of one another. Firas done superbly well to dance away from a couple of challenges. El Soma, they won him inside the box instead of out wide. Firas Al-Khatib, not the right pass. He wasn't looking when he just played it to Omar. And he apologizes for it. Aaron Moy had a very late call from his teammates that there was a charging Tamer closing down on him. End of 90 minutes. Nothing separating these two sides, just as it was in the first leg. Same score as it was 5 days ago, 1-1, 2-2 on aggregate. We go into extra time.
the Socceroos, and they'll look to stop the flow of the game as much as they can.
That's a giveaway by Milligan, and they could be punished for it. Here's Omar Al-Soma, chance for Syria. They've scored. Oh my word. Omar Al-Soma. Brink dealt with it well. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. International goal.
Just a quick reminder here, ladies and gentlemen, at Stadium Australia, as the match is tied at 1-1 after 90 minutes of playing time. After an interval of 5 minutes is complete, extra time consisting of 2 periods of 15 minutes each will be played. Now, if the match is still tied after this extra time, kicks from the penalty spot will be taken to break the tie and determine the winner.
Stadium Australia braces itself for an extra 30 minutes on the same ground, which saw not just an extra 30 minutes, but a penalty shootout. In the 2005 World Cup qualifiers against Uruguay. It also went to extra time in the Asian Cup final 2 years ago. Urich, as we suspected, the final trump card thrown by Ange Postecoglou, who I'm sure would have his job on the line if they lose these qualifiers to Ayman Hakim's Syria. Another draw in 90 minutes for the Australian national squad. Just can't find that X factor and that final ball to eviscerate defense, especially teams that come out with the soak and strike strategies like Syria. Milligan, Deganek, probably one of the three centre-backs might be sacrificed if Postecoglou decides to go for broke, go searching for that elusive goal, with Juric coming on. But they have to watch as well for the sucker punch that might come from Syria, as it did in the 6th minute of the match. It's a goal from Syria would mean that Australia have to score 2. The Syrians will have the away goal advantage. Rukavica keeps it in play. Only Cahill in the penalty box. Rogic decides to lurk outside of it. El Midani once again sweeping up, clearing any dangerous situations. Firas El Khatib goes chasing after his very own toe poke outside. Might be 34 years of age, Firas El Khatib, but he's always good for a run out. Good to bring that extra zest into a side at any given opportunity. Rogic, uncharacteristically giving the ball away. Well, the Australians asked for play on. I don't know whether Cahill was in an offside position when he received the ball, because it was play on by the referee until that pass out by Cahill, and the Australians certainly had the advantage then. Cahill wasn't offside, then it was a poor decision by the referee, who should have played on. Here is Rogic. Came closer than anyone else in the second half to breaking the deadlock. Cruz. Easy header out by Jihad Alboa. Again. Offside. Onside. I think it was El Midani who played him onside. It's a goalkeeper wasn't raising his hand and asking for a decision or requesting for anything from the assistant referee, thankfully for Syria. Ajad. It's a poor cross. A tired looking cross. Aaron Moy. Robbie Cruz. Cahill has found a lot of space. Ball delayed getting to him though. It'll be a free kick to Australia. Another booking. Almawa certainly has to watch. Is it going to be red here? It is. The man who's played more minutes than any other in these World Cup qualifiers has been shown red, a second yellow for that challenge on Robbie Cruz. Mixture of over-eagerness and fatigue playing its part in that late challenge. It is a correct decision from the referee. Maybe the first yellow card was a bit harsh, but that one was certainly yellow. And he gets his marching orders. And Mahmoud Al-Mawas is the first ever player sent off by Ravshan Ermatov in a World Cup qualifier. We're talking about an Uzbekistan official who is overseeing his 60th World Cup qualifier. And it's a big blow as well to Ayman Hakim, because if they go into penalties, this man is one of their chief penalty takers alongside Omar Karbin. Quizzical looks from the Syrian bench, but if they had the slow motion replay, they would have no complaints. Now Aaron Moy's deliveries have been dangerous and sumptuous so far tonight, but a lot of them have been repelled by some very tight and organized Syrian defending. What's this one going to produce? Commentator's curse. That was probably his worst delivery of the night. Tom Juric winning his 30th cap. Well, surprisingly, it's Rogic that comes out, because he has played splendidly, Thomas Jogic. But Juric is a player on form. Struck the upright twice that match 5 days ago in the first leg playoff. 4 goals in his last 7 internationals, 3 in his last 4 World Cup qualifying matches. A player who just loves playing against Saudi Arabia. Scored 2 against them already in World Cup qualifiers this time out. Lecky. Rogic is there. That's another target to aim at in the box, alongside the human trampoline, which is Tim Cahill. Oh, the man down. The Syrians be happy just to take this match all the way to penalties. Try to shut up shop, even at this early stage of the game. Cruz. And once again, that is the Australian conundrum. As I said, the left-hand side, the combination of Cruz, Moy, and the likes have worked some delightful patterns, but final delivery hasn't been as good as Matthew Lecky down the right-hand side. More straightforward, more direct whenever he's worked things out with Aaron Moy and Rogic, but Rogic has already been replaced. Tamer anywhere would do. Milligan asked by the crowd to either take a shot or get the ball inside. Lecky certainly will appease to the spectators. Jehad Al-Baou making his first start in a year and a month for the Syrians. And playing well at the back. Remember, they robbed off their first choice centre-back pairing of Hadi Al-Mazri and Ahmad Al-Ali. One suspended, one injured. Now one player red carded in this match, and a key player as well for Ayman Hakim. Mahmoud Al-Mawas already made 3 substitutions, and now one player down in Jehad. Well, the Australians and the Syrians especially have been put through a gamut of emotions, not just in this match for Syria, but throughout this World Cup qualifying campaign. It looked for the world that they were out of these playoffs when they were losing 2-1 to Iran in Tehran. They did well enough to even score in Tehran, becoming only the 2nd country of these World Cup qualifying campaigns to score at Fortress Iran. And Then all of a sudden, Omar Al-Soma scored very, very late on. Uzbekistan couldn't find a late goal against South Korea, and here they are, still alive. Syria in extra time against Australia in the second leg. Osama, that's a poor ball. It was meant for Al-Soma, but it was played far too hard behind him. Cruz, Moy in support, uses him. Lecky always ready to run up and lend his lungs and legs to that lethal right flank. Rukavica makes something out of it. It will be a corner. Clean challenge, no doubt about that. The Syrians look too tired to even try to rescue that situation. Normal time, you'd see a Syrian player scurrying over to try to rescue the corner. This time they ran right inside the penalty box, trying to deal with this. Of which, except for a Tim Cahill header, which came out after a rebound, they've done pretty well. Sainsbury, I think he wanted a penalty, did he? It definitely is a corner. This is what he asked for. It was collision more than anything else, but I've seen them given. Aaron Moy. It's not the best of deliveries from the Huddersfield player. Right behind Yerman, could not do anything from it. Second cap for Matthew Yerman. Surprised that he even played in the first leg, at least a lot of people were, but he has been in fine form in the K-League this year. Justified that selection. Tim Cahill. 37 years, 278 days, still lasting the pace of this match. Osama keeps it alive. The Syrians just falling all over the park. Tamer, the latest to go down, and he's all right. He was screaming and writhing in pain. And then all of a sudden, he's back up again. They've broken the offside trap. Osama snatched and dragged it totally wide. But therein always lies the danger of the Syrian counterpunch. Well, the fans were getting a little irritated with Tamer Haj for faking that injury and going down rather too dramatically. The Syrians found a way to play it behind this Australian backline. Milligan once again losing possession cheaply. El Khatib. Oh, hit way too hard and gone past Yerman. It wouldn't have found its way either. Osama, still Osama, ran right into the Australian cul-de-sac. Needed to get the ball out to Fahd Yusuf a lot earlier. Rukavica. Juric standing still in the box, hoping for a good Moy delivery. Lecky kept it alive. Oh! It looked as if the goalkeeper was favored to get to that, but against Tim Cahill, a never say die Tim Cahill, you never know. And I think he was a little unfortunate to be called for the foul there against the most overprotected species in football. He certainly got his hand up as leverage. Wouldn't have gone in anyway. Ibrahim Alma He's got his teammates flashing accusing looks at him and saying, why was that given away that easily? 2 added minutes to this first period of extra time. Juric. Easy by Deganek. Almost trapped to perfection by Aaron Moy. Jihad, it was recovered already. Recovering for Syria. Moy. Oh, it's an easy chance. Connected well enough, but goalkeeper stood his ground, and Rukovica had that opportunity to be a hero and hooked it straight at the goalkeeper. The Syrian defense went to sleep. They thought Moy had run it out, and no one paid any attention at all to the number 17. A more emphatic finish, and that would have been 2-1. The Socceroos asking the more pertinent questions, though. Syria now. Oh, Osama just didn't play the right ball. Covering was good enough by Mark Milligan, but if he had just held the ball up a little longer, instead of playing it across, there was support coming in from his 2 attackers in Firas and Omar. Aaron Moy almost reversing a pass to near perfection to Cahill. Here is Firas, still Firas, overrunning it. Overtime goes into the second period, still locked at 1 apiece. Firas El Khatib and gang are now 1 man short, and Tommy Juric and company are trying their very best to penetrate the Syrian goal, with a goalkeeper in excellent form, cat-like reflexes to keep out that strike by Rukovica, which was probably Australia's best chance in that first period of overtime.
Here we go, Sydney. 15 minutes to go in this extra time. It is up to you to make some noise for your Socceroos. Let's continue this long to pressure. Come on, Sydney.
The class of 2017 experiencing a case of deja vu for Australia and their bid to qualify for Russia 2018. Second period of extra time. Nothing separating these 2 teams. We might be headed for a penalty shootout, of which Australia, remember, won in 2005 against Uruguay on this very ground. But the fans would want to avoid that and win it now in the next 14 plus minutes. Yerman. Leckie once again free. Juric. The run certainly was eye-catching. The shot didn't match it. Freshness and spring in those legs of the extra time substitute there for all to see. It's really fluffed the shot by the time it came in. Aaron Moy has broken it behind the defense. Rukavica, he certainly was looking for it. That was a dive. At least the referee claims. The Syrians are saying that he should be booked. Rightfully he should be, if the referee thought it was a dive. Clearly there was a little bit of contact, but not big enough to win a penalty. Tamer Haj Mohammed was trying to get out of the way of that challenge. There was contact. Here is Tamer. Omar Al-Soma still chasing after this with Ryan. Fahd didn't really look convincing at all, galloping with that ball. Lecky once again trying to spread himself as wide as possible. Here is Lecky. Moayad Ajan just did enough to prevent the ball from getting to the Australian right wing back. Outlet is Al-Soma. Even he can't do anything with that hoisted, looping pass. Here is Juric. Played behind everyone. Firas. Oh, the referee got in the way. Rukavica, still Rukavica. Juric blocked off well enough. They almost got themselves into trouble though. It was a substitute. Ezra almost ran right back. Gifted Australia the ball. Moy with a clever dink behind the back line. Cruz left it up to Cahill! Goal number 50 for Australia, and it might be good enough to send them to the Intercontinental playoff. Once again, in the country's hour of need, they turn to their GOAT, their greatest of all time. Two headers by Tim Cahill, 2 Australian goals, and this one might be nail. Wow. All Cruz did was to keep it alive and hang it up in the air, and Cahill did everything himself. The human trampoline found extra springs in those 38-year-old thighs to plant a header beyond the goalkeeper. And Australia are 2-1 up. Now Syria will have to commit players forward, or their World Cup dream will be over. Lecky Almar, who's played as well as anyone and could do nothing with that goal, or both goals. Firas is throwing in a challenge, any sort of challenge would do against Degenek. Here is the hero of the moment. Cahill to Rukavica. Juric just ahead of him. Rukavica decided to go dancing on his own. Matthew Ryan sweeping up. Tamer. You can see the flagging spirits in this Syrian side. We did say in the first leg, it's a Syrian team that do not understand the word give up. It's a Syrian team that will come back at you and give one last push. But even with their undying spirits, they look flat out and they look totally gassed out at the moment on the pitch. Players can hardly even summon a muscle of energy to run after these passes. The Australians are happy to keep ball. Cahill. Moy. Juric. Cahill. Surely he will be awarded the man of the match after his exploits and his heroics. Ange Postecoglou had said before the start of the match and hinted at Cahill starting, saying this could be the moment where someone like Tim Cahill shows up to galvanize the squad. It's a match tailor-made for him. He certainly looks like an oracle now in his very own mini predictions. Ayman Hakim trying to summon up one last push for Syria. Al-Soma. Still Al-Soma. Sainsbury stuck to him like glue. Al-Soma's goal seems so far away already, and he's here to take the long throw. The biggest player in the side, out wide, with 6 minutes remaining. Cahill happy to hook it anywhere. Juric makes something of that clearance and keeps it alive. Goalkeeper hasn't come out. Robbie Cruz has gotten behind the defense, but dragged out wide enough. Moy. Almost clever, piercing pass. What's a decision now for Ayman Hakim? Certainly hasn't made a lot of friends here in Sydney. He is as emotional a coach as you get in world football. Remember, after a match against Uzbekistan, when they won by a last-minute penalty, he actually burst out crying at a press conference. Here he is with a different brand of emotions on display. This time the Australians are happy there's no advantage. Another player who's run himself to the ground, Robbie Cruz. Started out as one of the attacking trio, went into left wing back role, which really requires tons of stamina. He's ending up as one of the attacking three again. He's floating around in central midfield. It's a turn of the Syrians to complain the Australians are time wasting. Drama in Sydney in a World Cup playoff. Where have we heard that before? They've got 4 minutes plus whatever time Eliminatórias would like to add on to hang on to this and go and play the 4th place team in Central America and the Caribbeans. That will happen on the 6th of November, the first leg. Ezra Al-Khatib was told very late that there was a player just behind him. Juric policed, but still managing to wriggle clear. Here's Ezra. Oh, it's a ball played in behind the defense for Omar Al-Soma. He's alone though, he's got to do it all by himself. Omar. Splendid, marvelous challenge by Milos Daganek. That's as important as the goals that Cahill has scored this evening. Well, he lost the same player for the opening goal of the game. This time, he watched it all the way. And at that opening sequence, he didn't expect Al-Soma to go left. He expected him to cut back to his right foot. This time he was prepared. Matt Yerman, poor ball, just to when they needed to keep it. With all the jealousy in the world, they couldn't. Firas really exemplifying the spirit of the Syrian side. They've committed almost everyone forward now. The Australians rightfully play the high line here. What can Syria do with this? Well, they've got players behind the defense. Ezra. Now here comes the counter-attack. Moy. Juric wasn't strong enough in that challenge. Al-Soma. Firas. Free kick Syria. It might be now or never. With whatever they've come up with in these World Cup qualifiers, you can understand why the fans sense something in this situation. Ryan has got to watch. Al-Soma. Postecoglou now on a prayer. Two minutes at a time. Boy, he's getting emotional even before he takes this now. Omar Al-Soma, who scored that last-minute goal against Iran to take them here. Drills it against the upright. Oh my word. How unfortunate for Omar Al-Soma. Matthew Ryan will count his lucky stars, and Syria's luck is just about run out. perfectly struck. With all the power in the world, Ryan wouldn't have gotten there. Firas, still Firas. Robbie Cruz, the crowd begging him to clear it longer. Al Soma, anywhere would do by the Australians, appreciated by the crowd. Almar, offside, and that is probably the most popular person in Sydney at the moment, the assistant referee who flagged that. Hearts were surely in the mouths of Tim Cahill and gang, Postecoglou especially, and these members of the crowd. And that free kick was struck. Zolmo's deafening silence that you could hear the post actually repelling that free kick, and the relief that came after that was telling of the Syrian fight back, which is not good enough because Tim Cahill has come to the fore and soared once again when his country has needed him most. When they went behind the 8 ball with an early strike from Omar Al Soma, Cahill came up with the equalizer, heading the ball into the back of the net. Then in extra time, another Cahill header, this time less powerful, but just as accurate. The half-century of goals for his country, and more important, it takes the land from down under into the Intercontinental playoffs on the 6th of November. Tears shed for the Syrian national side, although they would leave with stories to tell all of Asia and the world over. For Ange Postecoglou, the dream of qualifying for the World Cup finals is still alive, being the first Australian to lead his country into the World Cup finals. It's still there for Postecoglou, all thanks to his captain of the night, 2-goal hero Tim Cahill, making it 2-1 to Australia after extra time, and 3-2 on aggregate against a gallant Syrian team.
Simon, Mark, heart in mouth stuff there. How do you sum that up right at the end? They nearly got themselves through.
Yeah, well, I think the longer the game went on, We got a good stranglehold of it. Look, they fought with absolutely everything they had, and they were outstanding. They were very, very difficult to break down. They gave us an extremely tough match on our home soil, so look, hats off to them. But you know, our boys worked very hard. We know what we're capable of, and we knew it was just a matter of time. You know, coming late in the game, we knew we'd work them hard, and they'd done a lot of kilometres, and it was gonna start to hurt them more than us eventually.
Talking about lots of kilometres, you did lots of kilometres in tough, humid conditions in Malacca and then came out again and have just gone into extra time yourself. How was the body feeling, and how much did that play a part backing up and playing here at home?
Yeah, no, look, the body's all right. We changed things up a little bit with our formation. We went a little bit more aggressive. We're always aggressive. And, yeah, it meant a little bit of extra ground to cover, but, look, everyone worked extremely hard. You know, I think Lex and Cruzy out wide, you know, Rooker coming, everyone. Timmy worked outstanding. You know, that's just something that we have in us, that we work until we can't anymore.
Their first goal, an early sucker punch, a little bit of a wayward pass from you. Did that play on your mind? At least we made amends, but...
No, look, it happens, doesn't it? I didn't mean to do it. It was a little bit of a loose pass. Could have hit Tommy a bit harder. And unfortunately, the quality up front, they punish us, and you know that hurts a lot. But you know, you have to wipe it away, and you have to get on with the job. And I think for the most part, I did.
Confident of getting through against perhaps Panama or Honduras?
Yeah, I think the next round will be a different type of match. You know, they're going to present different challenges to what we've faced over the last 2 legs here. So, look, we're very excited to go through now, but we know that there's a lot of work still ahead of us.
Thanks, Mark. Congratulations tonight.
Thank you, Tara.